I know.
Okay,
Better.
here we are. It's another Monday morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's May 1st here in the Garden State. And
No,
it's really perfect because, they say April showers bring May flowers. And it was pouring cats and dogs the whole weekend.
oh my God, literally.
It was
But
terrible.
you can't. But can I just say you can't say you can't just say May. You have to say May like Justin Timberlake. It's May. May.
Well, I don't even know what you're talking about.
You don't?
No.
You know his song? It's gonna be May. So now it's always
Oh,
when you
yeah,
say
yeah,
me. But
yeah.
we can't wait for May 1st just to say it. You have to say it the right way.
I'm just saying if I didn't get that, I feel like a lot of people will not have gotten that.
Not true. Trisha got it right away.
All right, so it's May 1st, and that means at the last weekend in May is what?
Memorial Day weekend.
Memorial Day weekend, right? Am I wrong about that?
Ugh. The
Memorial
unofficial
Day
start to
weekend.
summer.
It's the unofficial start to summer.
Ugh.
What's the official start? I think June 21st.
Something like that. June
Mhm.
21st.
Yeah.
Right, but summer really begins with Memorial Day weekend. That's the barbecues. Everyone's opening up their summer homes, running to the shore. It's going to start to get hot. I mean, it's all happening. Sometimes it seems like it takes so long for summer to get here, but it is here practically, right?
I had this morning. I was like, oh gosh. But this time last year, I said to myself, I was going to be totally shorts and tank top ready. And then I was like, eek, I got 30 days to get my act together. And then every time the weather's bad, I'm like, oh, this is God saying, I'm giving you another break. So this is your last year. So this rain this weekend, sweatshirt, I'm like, one more weekend. I'm like, one more weekend.
Don't worry, Jackie. I said the same thing. I was like, oh, January 1st. This is my year. I'm going to take care of myself. Here
And
I
it's
am.
May.
It's
May.
That reminds me. I remember hearing some movie star being interviewed, and she said she loves the rain. And she was asked why, and her response was, well, the rain makes no demands on you.
True.
It doesn't ask for anything, right?
Very
You
true.
can feel comfortable just being inside.
Yep.
You don't have to do anything. When the weather
No
is nice,
obligation.
there's such a pressure. I've got to get out. I've got to do something, right? But I don't want to
So
miss
true.
this beautiful day.
Yeah.
We get that
You
from our
feel
phone.
bad. There's not enough time in the day. You're trying to get out. You're trying to enjoy everything. You feel this push. But
Right.
it's very true. Sometimes I do not mind a rainy weekend, rainy day to try to regroup. Honestly.
100%. Now, Trish, what do you tell your children if it's a beautiful day and they want to stay home and act like it's a rainy day? Do you
I kick
intervene
them
in that,
out.
or you just let them do it?
I encourage them to get out. They take the dog out for a walk, go play outside, basketball. They're into football, so they'll throw a
What do you
football.
mean you encourage them? We know how teens can
Yeah.
be. How do you encourage them? Does that involve some kind of a broom or
Yeah, like you
or
shut
other
the Wi-Fi
projectiles?
off. You shut the Wi-Fi off. And
While they're really while they're watching, you're shutting the Wi-Fi off while they're doing that.
PlayStation, no internet, and they have to go
Oh,
out. No, I'm just
wow.
kidding. They'll go outside.
They will. Okay, because I feel like kids
try
are
to threaten
hesitant
them.
now. It's not the old days when it was like 8 in the morning and mom was like, okay, go outside and play and make sure you're home in time for dinner.
Get back in before the
but-
street lights come on.
Right.
It isn't, but I mean, I will say, like, you're beginning to see kids come outside a lot more lately. I feel like in my neighborhood specifically, like, you used to never see kids, and now all of a sudden I'm seeing a lot of kids on bikes, and it's really making me happy.
Well, the pandemic was great for that, right? If you remember, when everyone was stuck at home, they realized they didn't, being stuck at home is one thing, but they don't want to be inside all the time.
Right.
And you saw that a lot more. You saw kids playing on the street, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I feel like that will change. But Corinne, if you're saying if that's happening now, that's a good thing.
I see it a lot more than I ever have.
Well, listen, I don't know about all these things. It's just kind of conjecture, but I do feel that it has a very important symbiotic relationship with minerals. How that is, I don't know, but that's our topic for the day, and so therefore we have to talk about it because minerals are actually super, super important when we talk about nutrients. Remember, when it comes to nutrition, there are only two problems. there is an excess of toxicity and there is a depletion of nutrients, right? So you have depletion and you have toxicity. Too much of the bad stuff, not enough of the good stuff.
Correct.
So when it comes to depletion, one of the things that can easily get depleted are minerals. Jackie, I know you're interested in this topic.
Yeah.
And it's a very important part of what we do because it turns out minerals are essential, probably more so than vitamins. You cannot overcome a mineral deficiency by force of will, even though everyone thinks they can, right? They're the basic building blocks. But why were you so interested in this topic?
Pretty much for that reason. I mean, until I started working with you and just learning about it, I never realized that. I mean, I guess I never realized there was a difference, I should say. I've heard the term mineral deficient, never really thought anything much of it. I've always taken supplements like, oh, this is good for you, take it, without doing extra legwork to understand why it's better to do or take other supplements. But I always took vitamins, not necessarily anything that would support a mineral deficiency. And I didn't even realize how easily you can become mineral deficient and how it would affect in the long run certain things that you kind of overlook. You know, even if it's standard bloating, cramping, discomfort, sleep patterns, they actually may stem from a mineral deficiency before a vitamin deficiency, and they are different. And it surprised me because I think everyone's quick fix is like, oh, I take a multivitamin. I take a multi, but that doesn't answer anything. And are you taking enough?
Right.
You know, there's also a very large difference between raw supplements and processed supplements. So I feel like those small changes, and I think actually Trisha and Corinne said it last week too, one thing that they've never stopped doing is taking mineral most off program.
Right.
It could never hurt. So I went back to doing it myself. And it's funny, I told you I was having some aches and pains, back to doing it just like 3 days into it. And I'm like, this does make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
You feel
Corinne, I have a question for you, Corinne. Obviously, you know, you've taken your children to the doctor, right? And maybe more than a lot of parents, right? Do you ever hear any talk about supplementation specifically with regards to mineral deficiency?
I mean, my youngest was tested for all of it and it always came back negative. But, you know, I will tell you that when I told them I was going to change her diet and I was going to give her raw probiotics and I was going to give her a better vitamin and I was going to do this, they looked at me and said, well, that's good, but that's not enough calories for her. You know, so to me, I think a doctor is more looking sometimes at the bigger picture and trying to give them medicine to solve the problem, as opposed to looking at the smaller picture, which could just be something simple like a simple deficiency.
Yeah, interesting. You know, it reminds me of a time years ago. I was doing this very intense detox program involving, you know, being in a sauna and taking supplements, and I started developing. I developed like this heart arrhythmia, right? So I went to the hospital, you know, just to be safe, right? And they checked it out, and they didn't find any problems. And the conclusion was that I needed to take psychiatric medications. It was anxiety.
Oh.
Now, you know, I suspected at the time, I'm pretty sure now, that it was a problem with what they call my electrolytes. And certainly having electrolytes imbalance can cause, you know, heart arrhythmias, etc. But that was the go-to. It must be, since we can't find anything, it must be something psychological. You need a medication. I mean, the guy handed me a script, and I was like, "What are you talking about? That's so irresponsible." I was gonna write him up. I was gonna like, I never did. Maybe I should have, but I thought it was terribly irresponsible. If he was doing that to me, he's probably doing that to a lot of people. But then I just said, you know what? I came here just to rule stuff out, and we've done that. And have a nice day. And that was the resolution of it, right? But he didn't even think about a possible, you know, electrolyte deficiency or things like that. I was sweating a lot of stuff out when I was in the sauna. So Now, let's talk about what minerals are, because there might be some confusion on this subject, right? What are minerals? Do you guys know?
I think oh, so certain minerals there would be. I think B does fall having a B does fall under minerals, correct?
Now, what are the specifics? What are minerals?
Oh, what are
Like the
minerals?
picture,
Oh,
yeah.
no.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Yeah, so minerals are basically those substances that are part of the earth that our body needs to, to grow and to repair. I mean, they form the basis of hormones, among other things. They have a lot to do with our chemistry on a micro level as well, right? There are certain balances that are needed. Every cell in the body needs things like sodium and potassium. Now, when we talk about sodium and potassium, those are specific types of minerals called electrolytes.
Mm.
And electrolytes have a lot to do with cell signaling. They actually have to do with electricity because the cells work on an electrical basis. Most people don't realize that, I don't think, but that's kind of how they work. So when you talk about sodium and potassium and some other things like calcium, these are electrolytes, which are a type of mineral which helps cellular communication and electrical, what they call electrical potential of the cells. In order for the cells to work, there has to be certain conditions. So anyway, you're all going to fall asleep on me in a minute because that's kind of nerdy stuff. But um, has it ever been recommended to you, not on our program, we'll talk about our program in a minute and how it relates, but has it ever been recommended to you that you take a mineral supplement by a health professional?
No.
The only the only time actually was when I was pregnant. I had to take iron.
Iron, yes, iron is a popular one, right? Why do
I
people take iron?
well, for me, I became anemic when I was pregnant with both of my children.
Right. So,
Hmm.
so iron is a mineral. Iron, I believe, is a trace mineral, though don't quote me on
Hmm.
that, right? There are macro minerals and there are
Yes.
minerals that are needed in lesser amounts, and those are called trace minerals. And iron is a mineral that kind of helps with the transport of oxygen,
Hmm.
right? So the best way to think nutritionally, and I know this stuff, it gets overwhelming because there's so much, but the best way to think nutritionally is you think of a city, you think of Manhattan. Like in order for Manhattan to function, what does it need? Well, it needs electricity. It needs to do something about sanitation, right? You guys do anything about sanitation? Getting rid of garbage?
Getting rid of detoxing.
Right? It needs transportation, right? You have your subway system, you have your buses, right? We have that also. I
Mhm.
mean, so that's how the body works, kind of on a micro level compared to a city. But it's the same. It's an organism that needs these certain functions in order to work right. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, Now I lost my train of thought. Where did I start? What was I saying?
Well, what is a mineral?
Well,
And
yeah.
if
Well,
like,
I think
No,
we
but
handled that.
you were talking about like
Oh,
how.
iron, yes. Yeah, iron is necessary for the transportation of oxygen. So a lot of people are considered anemic, and there's a specific kind of anemia that involves being deficient in the mineral iron. And so you can get infusion. Did you get infusions or did you get some kind of a supplement?
no, he actually gave me a supplement, but it's funny. It kind of wreaked havoc on me a little bit.
Hmm,
And
interesting.
I almost wonder if at the time taking it, it was too much in terms of what my body was not used to. But
Hmm.
I mean, it really it hurt my stomach a lot.
Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. So and then it like kind of switched me up, and then I was taking different probiotics because they didn't at the time. My doctor didn't suggest being high risk with Giovanni. Suggested that should not take raw probiotics at that point. So until I really understood those things after the fact, a little too late. But there are certain things that I shouldn't take to help that would kind of counteract. Now knowing obviously the benefit of having a healthy gut and taking raw probiotics, if I would have started that route earlier on, I may have been better off.
Maybe, yeah. It's
But I don't
hard
know.
to know, right?
It's hard to
But
say,
what we know for sure is that you were suffering from anemia while you were
Mhm.
pregnant. It could have been
Mhm.
from loss of blood or what have
Mhm.
you. Anemia can be rough. Some people tend towards it.
Mhm.
Certain ethnicities tend towards it.
Yes.
Um, and so you were given this particular
Mhm.
supplement, but only very specifically because you had the signs and symptoms of being anemic.
Yes.
So in your research for this, Jackie, and I know how you
Mhm.
like to do that, the busy little beaver that you are. So in your research for this, what else can result from mineral deficiencies?
So it's bloat, stomach gastro issues. I've noticed a lot of excessive amounts of diarrhea or constipation. So two extremes.
Sure.
If you don't have a standard type of stool, so if you're not going consistently the same, you could either be mineral deficient or not, or even an over. I'm sorry, what was the word I'm looking for? Not over, a malabsorption issue
Hmm.
where it could either be soft, discolored, out of it. But there are a lot of things that people like, oh, it's probably just something I ate and they let it go. And it's a lot of times it's disregarded. They don't use that as a telltale sign.
Right. And just to be clear, malabsorption is when your digestive tract is not actually absorbing the nutrient that you're
Correct.
taking in, right?
There's also, hair loss,
Hmm.
bone pain, aches, irregular heartbeat often. It can even be for women, their cycle itself could be obviously change that as well.
Right. So
Mhm.
minerals are so foundational that they can kind of affect anything. And in fact, and I wish I could remember the name of the person who said this. I don't recall if it was a doctor or a scientist, but somebody suggested many years ago that at the root cause of every disease is a mineral deficiency.
Oh, you said you and Jen, we talked about this. Um, I don't. It wasn't Dr. Berg, was it?
No, 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 no. This was a while ago. Dr. Berg is a pretty recent guy.
He's pretty recent.
Uh,
I feel like there was a conversation we had about this though. But I believe that though because there are even things that, like I said, started to kind of fall on the wayside with me in terms of how I was taking care of myself, and I was just going through the motions. So if I stopped taking certain supplements or I kind of skipped this and skipped that, and I'm like, oh, okay, I started to notice a little flare up because I'm not eating as good as I should be. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, now I'm starting to feel better. I'm like, those little things, clearly it's something that is controllable. I'm just ignoring the signs.
Right, got it. Yeah, there could be a lot of signs.
Yeah.
It could be hard to know what
Mm-hmm.
the signs are.
Correct.
There are certain things that we relate to certain mineral deficiencies. So, for example, if you get cramps in your legs, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of immediately?
Water, dehydration.
Well, but more specifically, though, when you're losing water, you're also losing
Potassium, right?
the minerals. So
Potassium.
you think of potassium, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing most people would do. They would take
Yeah.
potassium.
Yeah.
Or maybe
Like eat a banana.
magnesium. I'm sorry?
Everybody says eat a banana.
Eat
Yeah.
a banana. Banana has a lot of potassium, right?
We actually keep tart cherry juice in the house.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Berg, he talks a lot about potassium. He says
Mhm.
everyone is deficient in potassium. So he wants you eating 130 cups of vegetables a day.
Yeah, it's like ridiculous. If you look at it, I mean, it's
Yeah.
really cool. But I'm like, I don't even know if it's possible for me to consume that much food. Period. Forget about
It's
vegetables.
very difficult. So so he does, kindly sell electrolytes as well. His electrolyte powder is largely potassium. So he's just a really big proponent of that. And of course,
Yeah.
we think of bananas when we think of potassium, but
Mhm.
tomatoes are a better source.
Oh,
Yes.
I didn't know.
Mhm.
Spinach is a good source. So guys, on our program, when we have people on our program, do you know how we're addressing minerals?
I think it's two ways.
Okay,
One, I think it's with the mineral most water that we're drinking.
certainly.
And the second way I think we're addressing the minerals is the hydromolecular, because you always say you have to think of the hydromolecular like you're hydrating the roots of the tree, right? So now we're hydrating our cells, which is the roots to the entire body.
Okay. Hydromolecular does have a lot of magnesium, which apparently everyone is deficient in.
Mhm.
So hydromolecular is one of the ways. Certainly, mineral most is one of the ways. That's a little unfair. You should have gotten that, right? How else?
Like how much water we're drinking, to not be over drinking. You want to keep everything in the body opposed.
Well, that's how we address hydration, which has very much to do with minerals and electrolytes, because there is that balance, right? Which most people don't appreciate. But how are we giving people more minerals, more nutrients, such that they do get hydrated and that their bodies work better on a cellular level?
Are we giving them more?
Yeah.
I would say like the personalized supplements. I mean, they really are. They are personalized to what their body is in need of. You know, unblocking the channels that are not allowing them to get the sludge out, not allowing them to detox properly. You know, pulling them out of fat burning, us putting them back into fat burning.
Well,
Just
here's the deal.
cycle.
Here's the deal regarding minerals specifically. And again, if you think of all those functions that take place in the city, we want to make them all work better to some degree, right? So oxygen, right? Now, you know, you don't hear people talking about oxygen when they talk about New York, but if it was missing, that would be an issue.
Right?
Yeah. You know, transportation. Well, transportation, you know, like the veins and the artery. I mean, you know, we're trying to address everything that kind of weakens the metabolism or the machine as a whole, right? Now, minerals are absolutely vital. We can see that a lot of people are minerally deficient, and we're addressing it in every way possible. So let's be a little more specific, right? We talked about mineral most. Those are polar minerals, right? But also there is you mentioned hydromolecular. Hydromolecular has magnesium, which is a great antioxidant. Helps get rid of rust in the body. There is hydrovitalize. Hydrovitalize, right? Hydrovitalize is minerals and electrolytes. That's what it's designed to do. And so it gets into the cells, those things that allow the cells to absorb water and nutrients, which, by the way, is the definition of hydration. It's the movement of water and nutrients into the cell, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Most people think it's how much water you drink, right?
Well, and that could be a problem too.
That's a misunderstanding, right? It's all about the movement of water and nutrients into the cells. That's what we're trying to do with hydration. Pink salt. So the pink salt that we encourage people to take on the program has approximately, I think, 80 or 90 trace minerals, many of which are vital for weight loss. Apparently, and I say apparently because I didn't do the research myself on this, but apparently each molecule of this magical pink salt that we use is able to kind of attach to 28 molecules of water and help transport it across the cell membrane and into the cell.
Wow.
All right. Yeah.
I never realized that.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's all the vegetables that we encourage people to eat. We encourage people to masticate them. It's a good thing Jen's not here, by the way.
Yeah.
That would be true, by the way. Masticate, right?
She would
so
be.
You masticate your
vegetables. Okay with that one.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't have been good. It wouldn't have been good. So eating all those vegetables, because vegetables are loaded with minerals, right? In addition, some of the other supplements. I'm sorry?
In the purest form.
It's in the purest form, too.
That's right. Yeah, loaded with the fiber, right? Yeah, it's got the fiber and it's got the water content and it's got, and a bunch of other things as well. So we're hitting it from all angles. This is how important it is to build up those stores because we want to have a very strong foundation. And most people don't realize that. They're like, help me lose weight.
That's
So,
it. That's all I hear. Just lose the weight.
Yeah. And
And little do they know, like, we're making them healthy from the inside out.
we want to, yes, the losing weight is the bonus portion.
Yeah.
Of course, we want to do that, but we want to do it the right way by having the body work better.
Mhm.
That's the
True.
idea. Okay. So, any questions about what we're discussing today?
I don't think so. I mean, I feel like minerals, I mean, just in general, I think it's just following the cues to your body. It's not necessarily normal for you to eat normal and healthy and clean, and then your bowel movements not be normal. For you to feel aches and pains, for you to feel like your skin looks drawn or dried out. Like you should pay attention to the cues. Your skin's extra dry, but maybe you're not. It's not your cleaning products. Don't always assume that it's just something that you necessarily did. It could be your body just craving more minerals, more information. Like, there's just so much. Like I talk about, my hands have been extra dry for no reason. And I'm
Right.
like, and now I'm looking, I'm ignoring things that I'm making. I'm like, oh no, it's just the stuff I was using to clean. Thieves oil is not going to dry out my hands, So there are things that I'm just ignoring, not realizing. I think that's what we have to do first.
Yeah, I think if you really consider it, like ancient man, they weren't worried about how many grams of magnesium or potassium they were eating. But what they were doing was they were eating a whole food diet of things that were grown in the ground and that were not processed in such a way that the minerals were being destroyed.
Right.
There's a theory right now that things are too clean. You've probably heard about this, having children. They used to play in the dirt.
Mm-hmm.
The dirt is loaded
Yes.
with minerals.
What was it that there was that thing that kids used to get? It was an infection that they don't get anymore because they, like you said, you stay too clean. Oh, impetigo.
I can't speak much.
Oh, I don't know.
Impetigo. Kids used to get impetigo all the time, and it was like something on their skin. But now, like, parents are constantly cleaning their hands.
Like no barrier.
What happened?
Like there was no barrier to protect them.
Well, no. What it is like impetigo. It was kind of like they used to say like it was like the kids that got that were the ones that played in the dirt, were the ones that always got dirty, and then the kids that never get that, like.
Oh, I gotta look that up. I don't know about
always that. Like it's because it's called like the clean man disease, like when you never are allowed to get dirty and stuff like that.
There is a theory that's why we see so many allergies and things like that, right?
Yeah.
I definitely believe that.
They want kids to play in the dirt and get dirty, and
Mhm.
like it's healthy for them to do that. And when you don't, you end up getting like these weird things like impetigo and other
Well,
things.
yeah, your body needs to build up some sort of immunity to the worlds around us, right?
So you can imagine some of your friends being like, "Ew, I'm not having my little Timmy play in the dirt."
Right, exactly.
Listen, be proud of me, guys, because your body, mother of the year, Giovanni's probiotic fell this morning. He's like, "Mom, it fell on the floor," and I'm like, "You're fine. It's okay." In 5-second rule, pick it up.
Rule. There you
And it
go.
was in the garage. And I'm like,
Jackie, your floors don't even have crumbs on them.
That's a good point.
Please.
What do you mean? Don't even have crumbs? They're not supposed to have crumbs.
No, thank you, Dr.
Yeah, I don't
R.
think that's what you meant to say.
Well, no house should, but I'm saying, like, literally, as you're eating dinner, here's Jackie vacuuming everybody up underneath the table.
Yeah, she reminds me a little of my
true.
grandmother. I would wake up in the morning to go to the bathroom and come back and the bed would be made.
Don't laugh. There are sometimes if like they're in bed together, they'll fall asleep. My kids, they sleep together. And they'll go in, and I'm like, they get up for a split second. I'm like, I'm just gonna already pick up the pillows, and I put them at the edge of the bed. I'm already halfway there, even though.
They're gonna have plenty of material for therapy.
My children are gonna be those with like their hands in their pants on the couch, crumbs all over the place, chip bags everywhere.
Because my mom, she didn't let me do this.
Giovanni does not even like to get dirty.
Listen,
My son needs being dirty.
I'm sure we could talk a lot more about this.
Yes, of course, but that's
Having
okay.
said that, there are other things to do. So
Yes.
let's say goodbye to everybody.
Bye, everyone. Have a good
Have a
week.
great week,
Have a
everybody.
great week. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.